Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's good light. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, Iceman Jeff Trunapole, and as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. And as always, I'm coming to you live from the Ice Cave, and the Ice Cave is brought to you by Party Lawn and Landscaping. It is finally getting warm. It's not as warm as it is in Arizona. Not yet anyway, but the grass will be getting greener. The lawns will be need mowed. Mulch beds we need cleaned out. Hell, you got some leaves still left over from the fall you want to get cleaned out? Give Priority Lawn and Landscaping a call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can also follow them on Facebook. What is up to everybody in the chat? Man, you guys are asking like a whole bunch of questions. Like I kind of like a really big Reds player on or something. I mean, grab this, grab that. Like, don't you guys have a question for me? Just kidding. Brad's in there. Carrie's in there. Augie's in there. Yeah, Carrie is blowing it up. We got all kinds of questions. I'll try to get to them. But enough of me. Let's get to the man we're all here to listen to and root on. One of my favorite Reds, and I'm a little biased because it comes on my show, so maybe I might be it. But he's a great dude. He is Cincinnati Reds pitcher Graham Ashcraft. What's up, Graham?
How's it going, man?
Good, brother. I'm glad to see you're nice and warm out there in sunny Arizona. While we're not freezing our asses off down here. It's warming up. I was actually wearing shorts outside today, but it was cold as hell for like 2 months here.
I'll say honestly, for the beginning of spring, it has been hotter than it's been in the past 3 years.
Oh, really?
It is. Oh, I mean, we've already had days mid upper 80s, and it's getting toasty. I was thinking it was going to be typical, where it's kind of like a slow rise into it. Not this year.
That's the way I look. I want it like now. I don't want it to be cold anymore, because I always say there's no football. I don't want the snow anymore. Let's bring on baseball and bring on spring. But I don't want it to go from 30 degrees to freaking 90 degrees in about a span of 30 days, which is usually what happens around here. We don't really have changes. It just jumps. But anyway, at least it's getting warmer. So I'm glad you're enjoying it out there. And you've gotten off to a pretty good start here this year. How's the spring training going for you so far?
Yeah, it's going good. I mean, been working on some new pitches this past off season and kind of just bringing them to life in the games and stuff, and starting to see where they kind of mix in with the repertoire, with the curveball and the changeup. And I mean, as y'all know, the slider and the four-seam cutter, whatever y'all want to call it. But, just kind of carrying it on, just really working on filling the zone up and pounding the zone and throwing a lot of strikes.
Awesome. And I like to remind everybody, your last start was in the majors was a pretty damn good one against the New York Yankees. I think you won, and you pretty much dominated them that entire game. So just want to leave that out there for everybody. I thought that was a pretty good start there. But I gotta ask you. There's lots of talk this offseason about going into the bullpen and stuff. But with certain pitchers not throwing right now, I think that opens the door back up for you to get back into the starter rotation. I think you want to be a starter is your preference, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a starter, and kind of the thing is, I mean, when I originally got called up, that was the thing, is they wanted to kind of see me out of the bullpen, but then Connor Overton he ended up hurting his back, and so I had to kind of fill that slot, and I just kind of took it and ran with it, and it's hard to say because the last couple years between breaking the bone of my foot and then kind of coming back from that last year wasn't really 100% when I came into spring, and kind of just was one of those things I was like, all right, I'm just going to tough it out and just kind of do what I can to help the team win. And it kind of bit me in the back a little bit.
Yeah.
And, got hurt at the end of last year, got a PRP injection in the elbow, went and did rehab, got after it, got healthy, had a normal off season. And I mean, I feel like this is some of the best shape that I've come into spring training so far.
That's awesome.
Throughout my career. So
yeah, I was gonna ask you how you feel. It's everything foot, elbow, everything's
yeah,
right
everything's great. Everything's perfect. And having a little baby to hold kind of helps.
Yeah.
Helps with the extra arm care.
Exactly. I was gonna ask you about that. How is fatherhood treating you?
Oh, it's great, man. I mean, it's a shoulder workout. Holding that baby, your shoulders get tired, but it's good for them,
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that. Shit, my son will be 25 here this year. I remember that he used to fit like right here, and my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But now neither one of them are taller than me, but they're still tall anyway. All right, let's get to some of these questions here because people are blowing it up here. I know Carrie's got a ton of them here. Let's see here. What's a good one here? I already asked you that question. I already asked you that one. All right, here you go. Let's go with Brands. Graham, what's the difference that you have seen so far between Tito and David Bell?
It's two way different personalities. I mean, I love DB to death. He's the only manager I've had in the big league so far, right? So
Right.
It's kind of hard for me to say, but I mean, the energy that Tito brings and how vocal he is, I mean, it's definitely kind of an eye opener. I mean, it makes it really fun. It makes it great to see how the guys react to him, and it's just the energy that he brings. It's just kind of like, all right, like he's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta take it and run with it, because the guy, I mean, he's won World Series. He's had World Series runs. Like, he's a freaking great manager. And it's still kind of early, to really tell like what to expect, what not to expect. So it's, once we get in season, I'm sure I'll have a different answer. But so far, it's been great.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm speaking for myself as a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. When they fired David Bell, the first guy on my list was Tito, and I'm like, "There's no way he's going to come here." I didn't think it was going to happen. And one thing, just for me, for him to come here, it means that he thinks I always say we, you guys have a chance to win, and
he sees the potential, he sees the talent that we have as an organization, and he knows. I feel like he's been, like I said, he's been around long enough. Like he knows how to work guys that have the talent and the ability to be something great. I feel like he knows how to pull that out of guys. I mean, look at the way some of our guys, like the way Ellie, Matt, Austin Hayes, like, I mean, we have a bunch of dudes that are coming out hot, swinging, and that is great to see. Like, especially this early, you don't really expect much. You're kind of like, you don't know if the guys are going to go up there, just kind of be like, all right, I'm just going to just track the ball for a couple ABs. No, these guys are here ready to go, and especially the arms, man. I mean, it's fun to see the caliber of arms that we have between starters and relievers. It's just it makes it fun, because you're like, man, this is going to be a competitive year, not just for us playing for the Reds, but us playing with each other and against each other, because it's going to be like, all right, like it just kind of brings that extra competitiveness out of you, and it just makes it fun.
Yeah, Austin Hayes hits 3 home runs in was that the second game or third game of the season? I'm like, dude, you got to hopefully bring that north, dude, or bring that west. Bring it east. I'll get it right here. Bring it east. I mean, that was awesome. Ellie, first game, he hit a home run for the left and right side. I'm like, holy crap. And then getting Matty Bats back, Matt McClain. I love that dude. I think he's a big key to this team and health. And I know you can't control health, but you guys somehow got to try to stay healthy this year. Now, one thing, let me get here. Carrie said, it looks like your team looks leaner and meaner. Do you think guys came in more, I won't say more, in better shape this year? Did Tito put an emphasis on that?
No, I kind of think that was just the way everybody felt after last year. I mean, a lot of us have came in, lost 10, 15 pounds or more. I mean, guys came in a lot better shape, ready to go this year. And I mean, it's noticeable between the position players and the pitchers. Like, guys came in ready. I mean, it makes a difference, and I feel like it's going to kind of help with our longevity of the season. The guys coming in and kind of already having that mindset, because when you kind of come in and you're feeling a little sluggish, it's kind of hard to get that like edge to get going and kind of get rolling. Because once something hits you, it's just kind of like a big right hook versus a little jab, So I think that's going to make a big difference for the long haul for us for the season.
Now, one thing I noticed that Tito said that I never really heard David Bell said is, we're here to win championships. That I think is an emphasis. And it feels, just hearing you talk, it feels like that's not that David Bell didn't emphasize that, or I'm not trying to talk. It just feels like it's more of a priority or more of a possibility, because that's what he's coming here to do. He didn't come here to just finish in second,
Yeah, well, I mean, and you got to think though too. Tito was at home. He retired. He was he hung it up. So I mean, for a guy with his resume to be like, no, I'm coming back. Like, you got to have something special there, and I mean, it tells you that he sees something.
Yeah,
and I think that's what makes it so exciting for all of us, because it's like, we know, and we've said for the past 2 years, the type of team that we have and the type of players that we have. So to see like somebody like, and I know DB believed in it. I'm not saying that he did.
Yeah. Me too.
But I just feel like there's certain ways certain guys connect with people, and there's some things that certain people can bring out. And I feel like Tito can kind of bring that drive out of our young staff and young guys that we have, to kind of get over that little hump, to where like in some of those games, to where it might bring a little bit more fight out of it.
Right. Now, do you notice anything? I know we're not even 2 weeks into this thing yet, but do you notice anything different with the way Tito is using you guys, or one of you guys to pitch as starting pitchers compared to David Bell?
It's hard to say this early.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely wanting guys. He wants guys that are going to throw strikes. He wants guys that are going to go long into the game. He doesn't want to have guys that are going to be going out there and throwing 4 or 5 innings. He wants guys that are going to be going out there and they can give 6, 7 plus if possible. So that way the bullpen's not having to get eat up through the season.
Right.
Because that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you can save the bullpen for later in the year, that's what helps carry the team. Because at some point during that halfway stretch of the season, from the middle to the end, at some point there's going to be a lull to where either one of the starters isn't going to be able to carry it for a couple games,
right?
And then the bullpen backs them up, or the bullpen might have got shot for a series, and the next thing you know, you got 2 guys come out that give you 7, 8 innings each game and saves that bullpen for a couple of days. So, I mean, I definitely say you can see that from it so far.
And when you see that I love seeing that. That's picking your teammates up. That's having your teammates back. So when the bullpen, say you're the starter, the bullpen's shot, and you really can't go to anybody. You got to go at least 7 innings, and you go out there and you shut them down for 7 innings, and they come in and all have to clean up 2. I'm like, that's picking your teammates up. That's what.
Oh yeah.
That's what being a teammate and championship baseball is all about. Is picking up your teammates when they can't do it. Next time they'll get you.
No, 100%, exactly.
Now, what is your expectations or goals for this year personally?
I mean, for me personally, it kind of depends on what role they give me, I mean, for me as a starter, it's to go in and kind of be like I was in 23, to where it was just dominating lineups.
Yeah.
And, I will say it helps having Wade Miley with us this year.
Yeah, I'm so glad he's back. How was that getting him back? Are you excited to see him?
Yeah, I loved Wade from when I first met him back in 22 or 21.
Yeah.
And me and him, he's from Louisiana, I'm from Alabama, 2 country boys, so we got along really easily. But I mean, the knowledge that Wade has is unbelievable. I mean, he's been around the game for a while. I mean, he would literally when he was with Milwaukee, he would sit there and like tell me like, "Hey, you're tipping, but I'm not going to tell you what you're doing because you're pitching for another team." But like,
Right,
just so
right.
you know, like you're giving up what you're throwing.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that we've kind of worked, like I've kind of been working on this year.
Mhm.
And it's been when I'm coming set and stuff, and he's been talking with me and watching my bullpens. He came and watched my game yesterday, and he said it's looking a lot better. And so I feel like that's one thing that kind of hurt me at least this
Mhm.
past year was I was tipping, and I had
Right.
a pretty bad tip that's known around the league of just you can tell when I'm throwing a fastball, you can tell when a slider's coming. And so I feel like being able to nip that in the butt this year, that's gonna make a big difference
Yeah.
for me just pitching, whether it's starting or relieving.
And adding the different pitches, that's gonna be something new that people aren't used to you. At
Oh
least
yeah, I
in the major
mean
leagues.
the change up in the curveball is going to give such a different look. It's going to allow the fastball and the slider to play so much more.
Now, I think you said to me said this to me off the air, but you changed your arm angle or your arm slot a little bit. You said.
Yeah, it was kind of something we did during rehab. It was just one of those things we just kind of wanted to see, like, kind of make sure the fastball was kind of carrying and cutting like this versus kind of dying off like a typical cutter, like right here.
Right.
And so it just kind of raised the arm slot a little bit to think like staying on top of the ball. And I mean, it's making my ball jump out of the hand a lot more. And honestly, it feels a lot better being at just a little bit of a higher arm slot.
So it's more comfortable for you throwing it up there.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good because I mean sometimes you mess with your arm slot, it throws other things off that you got to make sure you get mechanically right. So that's good. That's good that everything's going good there. So what's it like in the locker room there? I know Ellie's Ellie. You got Matt McClain. Those two I think are gotta be combatants or funny as hell in the locker room. What's the locker room like? You guys hitting it all off with the veterans and the rookies and everything?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's great. You know, it's nice to have some veteran guys around because I feel like that's one thing. Like don't get me wrong, it's fun when you have a bunch of young guys in the locker room that everybody's just wanting to have fun and go out there and play and all that. But you also kind of need that little stiffness in there to where somebody's gonna be like, hey, no, like we got to do it this way and this way. We can't just be sitting here half-assing it.
Right.
And so having that in the clubhouse, I mean, it's great. And everybody gets along. I mean, a lot of the veterans were guys that were here or guys that like Wade, a lot of us knew Wade. And it's really fun. I mean, it's great to be able to pick some of these guys' brain because we have a couple guys that we picked up this year that have been in the league 13, 14 years
Oh
or
yeah.
10 years. And so like getting to pick those guys' brain, I mean, you learn so much more from that than just experience on your own because these guys have been through it. They know what you've been through. They know how to get through that adversity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that to like sit back on and be able to be like, hey, like this is something that I was doing. Like, do you have any advice on how I can feel this pitch better or hit my spot better with this pitch? Like I went and talked with Nick Martinez today on my last start. The changeup, I was just kind of leaving it down and in on righties, down and away on lefties, and just wasn't really able to get it back over. And I just asked him, I was like, hey, like I'm moving my line of sight, like trying to get it there more. He was like that. He's like, that's good. Just make sure when you're doing that, like you're also driving your body to the spot versus just changing your line of sight. Because when you change your line of sight, it doesn't always mean your body's going there.
Right.
And so like hearing that, I mean, it's something that like for me, I'm a power arm guy. I'm gonna throw everything high effort. And so when I'm directional with my stuff and I call it directional and rotational.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm very rotational and very directional, all my pitches have a purpose and I'm going to keep it in the zone. And so hearing that, it just kind of like it's stuff that I can fall back on the stuff that I already have like notes on about myself.
Yeah. And you being a power pitcher, you use your legs a lot and driving with your legs and getting everything with your sight and everything. It's all, I've talked to you about this before. Like the things that go on in your head would just, I think, screw me up of trying to pinpoint what you just said, of trying to figure out how to do that. But that's why you're a major league pitcher and I'm not. But that's what it comes down to. And the idiosyncrasies of it, you can be off by that much and the ball is 2 feet short or long of where you actually want it. It's ridiculous. So
exactly.
Actually, my son here, Chandler, he just brought the question up, which he read my mind. Is the next thing I was going to ask you. He said, how do you feel about the ABS? Prefer the challenge system or robo umps or just the regular umpires?
So I got to experience a little bit of it last year when I got optioned down. in
Okay.
AAA. And I will say having it is nice because the umpire's not always right, but I don't like the aspect at the big league level of taking away the human error element out of it.
Right.
Like, I understand, yes, like there's umpires that are atrocious at their job. But
I can name a couple of them.
yeah, but there's also a lot of them that are really good at what they do. And
yes.
I mean, that's just like everything, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the hitter that chases the down and away slider every time.
Yep.
You can't beat it out of him. He's just going to chase it because he thinks it's a good pitch that he sees.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like you can't take that away from the game, because once you get rid of that, like, yes, does it make the game go faster if that's what you want? Yeah.
I'm not big
but
at
the end of the day, I mean, I feel like you're taking away from the job, like, of their job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want them to be better about it, do what they did halfway through the season. Allow us as players have the iPad in there with the strike zone, so that way if the umpire's missing it, the next time the catcher goes out there or the next time that hitter goes out there, he can be like, hey, man, like, I went back and looked at that pitch that you said was 2 balls off.
Mm-hmm.
It was a strike. Or if you're a hitter, be like, hey, that ball that you said just clipped the edge was 2 balls off.
Right.
So that way, I mean, it's given that umpire the knowledge of being like, okay, like, I need to adjust my sights a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you go back and look in 23, when we had on the iPads, that was one of the best years umpires had.
Right.
All in all.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me as a player, it's like, well, you don't need the challenge system. You don't need the ABS at the big league level.
Right.
Because these umpires work their way up. Like, if they're doing their stuff right and they're getting promoted for the right reasons,
exactly,
they should be able to do that.
Right.
And so that's why I think, like, in the minor league level, the ABS is perfect, because those umpires coming up, it's making them learn the zone better.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to have that at the big league level. That's just my personal feeling and thought on that.
No, I actually agree with you, because this whole thing with trying to I get baseball doesn't have a clock. Like, it's never had a clock. And this whole thing of trying to speed it, I understand consistently 3-hour long games. I get that. We don't need to step out after every pitch. I get that. But some of the stuff is like I hate the ghost runner in extra running. I hate it. I mean, I don't like that. I get it, but I don't like it. And eventually they're going to change too many things that it's not going to be the baseball I grew up with. I mean, like I said, I'll be 50 in April. I still get tired of hearing WAR this and analytics that, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, can the guy go get a ground ball and throw it to first base? Yes. All right, cool. Then he's that's his range. But well, his range should be this. I'm like, well, that's not his. But he gets to what he can get to, and well, that's not the way it worked. Like, no, it worked for 49 of my years. It's worked like that now. But yeah, so that's where I'm gonna sound like an old man here, yelling from the wall. But I get tired of, we got to speed the game up. And some of the stuff has worked. I do like the bigger bases, and that's speeded up the running game. It's brought the running game back, because that was one thing to me that I was missing in the last couple of years before they brought that back is the running game. And that's one thing I hope the Reds get back to. You guys didn't run as much last year, it seemed like, as you did the first year that everybody came up, but with getting Ellie obviously, but getting Matt McLean back, and then hopefully TJ Frito have both those guys healthy all year. Hopefully we can get back to running around the bases. And when that happens, does that energize your team?
Sorry, I just caught a little bit of a hamstring cramp right there.
Oh. All right, he got injured. He got injured on the podcast.
No, but yeah, I mean, that's, and having Colin Cowgill. I mean, he's I'm not a position player. I'm not a guy that runs the bases, so I can't
get the hit anymore.
Yeah, I can't say much about it besides just what I've seen and what I've heard.
What energy does that bring to the clubhouse once those guys start taking off like that?
Oh, I mean, it just, and it's like you say, like the stats, like stat wise, like with a guy on first, the stats are a lot lower than a guy being on second to score.
Right,
so like if that guy can steal that bag to second or even take that bag to third, I mean, it kind of gets the guys going, it's one of those things, like you're just stoking the fire.
Yeah.
You're slowly feeding that fire to get it bigger and bigger. And that's what that's like. I mean, it's like a big home run's like dumping thing of gas on it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And all you're doing when you steal that bag, when they steal the bag, is they're just adding a little bit more, and a little bit more to that fire.
Especially when it's Ellie and he's going around stealing every damn bag he can and home. I still remember to play in Milwaukee 2 years ago where he stole a second, stole dirt, and stole. That was still one of the freaking coolest plays I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, I remember sitting there in the dugout being like, "Don't do it, don't do it."
No! Yes, like,
exactly. That was all of our reactions in the dugout.
I think that was my reaction. I was watching it on TV, going, "No! Okay, never mind. That was a great play. Good job." It's just like watching college basketball or something. The guy runs down like and throws a 3-pointer. I'm like, no. All right, never mind. I win it. Good job. Like it worked. It's like, but that was awesome. Opening day. Are you going to be in the parade again this year?
We won't know that until it's like a day or two before they ask us.
Okay, now I know you got to do it. It was last year you were in, right?
The past 2 years, yeah.
Past 2 years you've been in. Just tell everybody what that's like being in the opening day parade and seeing the city and how electric it is for opening day and seeing the crowd. And how does that fire you up for the season?
Oh, I mean, when you walk into the ball field, it's one thing. And so I'll start there. Like when you show up to the ballpark, it's one thing.
Right.
You're like, it's opening day. Like, all right, it's time to go. Season's here.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, that's how it was when I first got there. And then when I got asked to go and open the parade, I was like, yeah, like I want to see what the city's like. And then when you go out and they start driving you back, not even just in the parade yet, when they start driving you to get to the back of the parade to start, or the front, I guess you would say, seeing the amount of people that come out for the support, I mean, you have people coming from all over the country. It's not just in the city.
Yeah.
And just to see the city backing you like that and backing the team, it is awesome. I mean, it is one of the coolest experiences that I think a player can have going into opening day.
Did you know there's that many Reds fans around when you saw the parade?
I was like, is this the city? Is this the entire state here? Like,
right, exactly. You're like, holy shit, I can see all kinds of people here. Right? Where did you come from? Yeah, I know, because last year I did a broadcast outside Moline Logger House, and I'll do it again this year. And by the time we got done with the broadcast, we couldn't move. There are so many damn people down there.
It is jam-packed out there.
It's ridiculous. It's an absolute freaking blast. I love every minute of it. And the cool thing is just think how nuts the city would go if you guys win a playoff series or make the playoffs. I mean, we'll go crazy. I mean, we love that stuff. So, and that's what we're here for. And I know the prognosticators say you guys are, only be a 70-win team or something like. But what'd you win? What, 73, 75 last year? Something like that is what you guys won.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but if you guys, I keep looking this way. If you guys stay healthy with everybody you're added and Tito, to me that's at least plus 10. So that puts you at 85. That's wild card, I think. So I think I think you guys got a shot at the playoffs, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I cannot wait.
Well, I mean, 2 years ago, people were predicting us to be a 65, 75 win team.
Yep. And
we were one game away from making the playoffs.
Exactly.
Like the preseason prediction stuff, it's stats. It's like you're talking about. It's just a stat that they think is what it is.
Exactly.
It's not the definite answer of what's going to define the season. So. Exactly.
All right, one last question. I'll get you out of here. Your off season. I know Carrie asked it in the chats here. How was your hunting and fishing? Did you get a lot of that done?
I went on one duck hunt and went out with my buddies at Shin and stuff, and we had a good hunt in 2 days. We shot about 122 ducks.
Whoa! Damn!
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then deer season, didn't get anything deer hunting. Had an encounter with the biggest buck I've seen on the hoof this year, but didn't get a shot at him. He got lucky. The old buck fever caught me, and the adrenaline and got me going.
The buck
so he ended up escaping, but it was a great off season. I mean, I would definitely say the highlight of it was seeing my daughter born.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, dude. And so you're gonna make sure she grows up a Reds fan, right? Just making sure.
She's gonna grow up a Daddy's fan, right? Daddy's gonna be.
Well, hopefully Daddy stays with the Reds is what I hope, because I hope you have a great season and good luck this year. Stay healthy. And like I said, if we can do this again during the season, I'd love to. Like I said before, sometimes we gotta go have a beer sometime. And just
We'll line something up for sure.
Sounds good, brother. All right, Graham, go out there and have a great season, and I'll talk to you later, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Take it easy. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Graham is awesome. He's a really cool dude. I got to meet him at the Reds Fest last year. They had Reds Fest. They didn't have it this year. But it's Friday, and tomorrow I'm heading to Columbus to go watch the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings in the Stadium Series. It's going to be an outdoor hockey game in the Horseshoe. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to go. NFL Combine is still going on. We don't know what the Bengals are going to do, but I got a guy who is known to have some hot takes from time to time. You might have heard of him. He's Evan McPhillips. I call him McMoney is what I call him. But, you can just call him Evan. What's up, McMoney?
How you doing, El Jefe? Big boss man.
What's going on, brother? Long time no see.
Yeah, man, it's been too long since I've been on, and we'll definitely. I told you already today. I want to link up again before the draft when we get some full profiles. And right before, I was feeling pretty good coming off last year, predicting Amarius Mims and Chris Jenkins both in the first, second round. So we're coming for this year too. We're coming for this year.
So with that being said, you got a feeling. I know that's not there yet, but you got a. What do you think? Because everybody keeps talking about Nolan. And then I hear a lot about Grant. So those are the two I keep hearing about. And then if a tight end from Penn State falls, which I don't think it's going to, but
right.
But I'm also like let me get to my notes here. Booker, the guard out of Alabama. I'm really leaning in my heart more toward if he's there, get him because the guard talent isn't as big as the defensive line. If you get the guards round one, then you go defense 2 and 3. I might be okay with that. But what's your gut feeling here?
So that's definitely a really good point. I agree with you that a guy like a Booker would just solve a massive problem for the interior O-line for the next couple of years, where you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to go hunting in free agency and kind of hope that the guy you end up getting lands. Now, they were pretty successful in the last time they did that with Alex Kappa, with Ted Karras, trying to figure that out. But I do think now it's definitely an opportunity to get cheap and stay cheap on the offensive line and get younger, especially when you've invested so much or expected to invest so much financially on the offensive side of the ball already between Orlando Brown and hopefully T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. So, but also just when you look at guard in general, obviously we know the Bengals don't value it very highly either in free agency or the draft. I was begging them every single round 3 through 7 last year to pick a guy for the interior line just for some competition. And there were some good guys out there and they didn't even bother. And when you look at actually how the top 15 players are in terms of average per year, average annual value that they're making on their contract, when you look at how they were acquired, whether through the draft, trade, or free agency, you see that 10 in every 15 of those guys at right guard and left guard were free agents. Right. So you are much more likely to find a top starting guard in free agency than you are in the draft. So it depends if they want to make that kind of investment, especially in a year. A lot of teams are going to have resources with a rising cap. A lot of teams are going to be interested as the offensive linemen continue to get re-signed by their own teams right now. The well that was already shallow is drying up even more before the first day of free agency really even opens. So I think as much as I love the idea and I agree with you with Booker, I struggle to see the Bengals valuing guard that highly, especially when you have so many glaring needs at edge, interior defensive line, safety linebacker. Linebacker is really interesting in this class. That just you feel like you need to make those investments on the defensive side of the ball because you're spending $50 million more on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball. So you got to offset some of that. Somehow draft capital is ideally going to be that way. And fortunately for the Bengals, edge, defensive interior, linebacker, all strengths for this class, all needs for tackles. I would expect them to double dip at edge, maybe interior defensive line in this draft, and they would be smart too because it is a very deep draft in that regard.
Yeah, that I would not be, and I would be okay with it. Trust me, because I screaming from the hilltops during the season that, damn it, if we had a freaking pass rush, this season would have went differently more than Trey Henderson. And you can, I won't say easily fix this, but, and I don't want to put it like this, but this draft is almost foolproof. I mean, almost. I mean, you can screw it up, but there's so many defensive edge, interior guys there. If you get them in the first, second, third round, there's got to be somebody there that's an impact. Two of them at least, an impact player for the Bengals this year.
Mm-hmm. Easily. And the question is, I think, especially with Booker, but also other really talented prospects like a Mike Green, like a Jihad Campbell from Alabama. These are really talented players, but they are outside of the standard measurables that the Bengals draft picks have. When we know defensive ends, they like longer arm guys who are close to 6'4", 6'5", 260, 70, 80 pounds, right? Jihad Campbell, your kind of linebacker, defensive end hybrid player like a Micah Parsons. Mm-hmm. Don't mean to evoke that comp necessarily, but in that style of you can.
You're getting me excited. You're getting me excited, Evan.
We can talk more about him. He's an Alabama guy. I got to know him pretty well, and he was an awesome player for us. But really, it's, again, do the Bengals buck that trend? We heard them talk about in Duke Tobin's press conferences, like what they're looking for, how they recognize that they need to do things differently. And they talk about doing these things differently, but it comes down to, are they willing to break from these trends to maybe appease? If Al Golden is saying, hey, I could really work wonders with a guy like a Jihad Campbell, then that is something they might have to listen to. So it really depends. Do they break the mold and deviate from what they do historically because they say we need to do something and we need to get a guy that we just feel good about regardless of anything that's there? That would be a Mike Green. That could be a Jihad Campbell. That could be a Tyler Booker. But when I look at these prospects, I look clearly, especially they were going to go Byron Murphy last year if he ended up making it to them, right? If the Seahawks didn't go that way, they were looking at him really hard. That was their other option, right? So they didn't get him last year, right? And think about what they did, right? In free agency, they had Sheldon Rankins, they had BJ Hill, and then they went into that draft and defensive tackle was such a need that they were going to go in the first round. Well, now you don't have Sheldon Rankins. Now you don't have BJ Hill. Mm-hmm. And I like Chris Jenkins and I like McKinley Jackson, but I'm not asking these guys to take 700 snaps a season right now. Yeah. And outside of that, you have nothing, nothing for the interior. So I posit to you that interior defensive line is even more of a need than last year when they were already going to take one in the first round. So I can't imagine a world in which you don't get a competent edge to push for competition across from Trey Hendrickson. I like Myles Murphy as a prospect, but again, we're going into year 3 now of being a prospect. It's eventually you got to turn potential into production, right? And so you can't just be satisfied with that, right? You have to push the envelope. And whether that is the second, the third round, you can get guys to do that. But I really think they have to hit the interior defensive line hard. And that's why I kind of land on those guys in the first round. I don't know if Grant necessarily makes it all the way down there. I do look at a guy like maybe a Derek Harmon is a really intriguing player, but just this is always the thing about the first rounders, the back end of the first round, right? There's always great profile, but one red flag. And Derek Harmon is an awesome size, lateral quickness, awesome gap shooter, havoc wreaker. And there is something where, you know, if you penetrate a run play and you make the running back kind of hesitate and jump cut, it throws off the rhythm of the blocking in the play, right? There's value in that even if you miss. There's value in pressuring the quarterback and turning them statistically in terms of passer rating from Tom Brady to Andy Dalton, right? There is value in that, but ideally you do want to finish some tackles sometimes, right?
That would be nice.
Right. So a guy like Derek Harmon, that's the kind of question about him. Edges like Mykel Williams, it's almost like you're taking Myles Murphy again, but just bigger. And, you know, he's got like 6-8 sack upside, and I just don't see that. So when I'm looking at these interior defensive linemen, I'm just really struggling to figure out exactly where they end up. And so that makes me think that if Walter Nolan is not someone they feel comfortable with at that point, and maybe Grant's not there, that's when they would pivot to an edge.
There's so many people that there's so many people that keep saying Nolan. I keep hearing that name more than anybody else, which I'm not against it. I mean, I think that it would be fine. Now, one thing I want to go back to where you talked about with Duke and Zach. Now, their press conferences they had at the beginning of the scouting combine, to me, were different than what we've heard before. Meaning, more confidence, more we're wanting to win championships, more we want to sign T. Higgins. We're going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback. Those are, to me, it sounded different. Now, does that mean they're changing their thoughts on what they were going to do with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? Which I think they are. I think they changed from they weren't going to sign him because the agent they couldn't talk to him to be able to sign him. They were always going to sign Jamar, to also try to sign Trey. Now, to that point, if they changed that thought process, do you think they're thinking of changing the way they draft guys, the size, the arm length, and stuff that, this is the Bengals. They don't do this. I mean, before it was, this is the Bengals. We don't sign free agents outside of our organization. Well, they do now. This is the Bengals. We don't do, there's been a lot of changes over the last 5 years. Is this the time where you think they might change that? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what's your gut feeling?
I want to believe, Jeff. I want to.
Me too.
That's the thing, right? Is how many times have we heard you say the right thing? They're masters of coach speak, right? They're masters of the press conference. And I will agree with you that the gusto, the energy, the
confidence.
Fire. Yeah, they were more resolute than relaxed in nature. And I do detect that that's a difference. But I wonder if they are maybe pursuing changes in personnel and not process. And that's what concerns me, right?
Right.
Where they're talking a lot about, well, now we're aligned, and now we're in sync. And while I agree with you that, yes, that's important that the guy picking players and the guy implementing the players are on the same page.
That would help.
Right? I understand why that's important. But I don't want them to just have the same process and say, well, we swapped out the parts and now everything's going to be better. So we're going to keep operating the same way. Because when it comes to, let's say, the contracts with T, Trey, anything else, right? It's always with the Bengals coming into, are you going to guarantee money past year one, past year two? Are you going to give that higher guarantee where you normally wouldn't? Are you going to get more creative in how you structure your cap hits and your cash spending as well, and how you kind of use these different loopholes to change the accounting to your benefit, right? And that can be uncomfortable in the sense that it can make money that is untouchable in a sense, but it also gives you a lot of advantages. So are they going to be different in, hey, we're going to be able to give you more guaranteed money? Because they haven't done the whole, we're going to sign you early, because that's the big advantage you can do, right? Is sign early.
But how are they going to save themselves a lot of money, though? Is sign Jamar
you can
early.
save yourself. Yeah, you can save yourself probably $5 or $6 million a year on the average annual value, and then cash wise too. And then on top of that, you have the extra year that you can then spread the bonus out over top of and keep the cap hits even lower. So you're not doing that. Okay, well, are you going to be different about how you guarantee money? Because Trey, maybe he is asking for $28 million, 27, 26 average annual
probably
value.
Is. Right? Yeah, he probably is.
But I'd
he
be
deserves
willing,
it too.
I'd be willing to bet. So he's on contract this year. You give him a 2-year extension and you guarantee money into year 2, right?
Yep.
Maybe you don't put the third year in there, but if you put a high enough guaranteed money for the first 2 years, he's probably going to take less. He'd probably take a 24 per year extension. Right. But again, that's just an extension. So then the cap hit can be spread out and be even lower than that. So paying out more of that guaranteed money to maybe bring down the average annual value is something that a guy like Trey, who is older and looking for financial security, self-declared, would be willing to make that adjustment for. Maybe T is like, I'm a younger player and you're not going to cut me by year 3, so I don't care as much about the guarantees. But an older player's worried about that. So do they change in contract structure? We'll see.
They need to.
They haven't yet, right? They need to. They absolutely need to. I'm not saying you got to go Eagles, because as much as as much as the Bengals are one side of the spectrum, the Eagles are the other. Yeah. Like, I hate when we say, oh, well, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, they did it for them. Guys, their contract, go to Over the Cap. Look at their contract. It's a 10-year contract. It has 5 void years. There is a $58 million cap hit for AJ Brown 4 years from now that's completely non-guaranteed. So, yeah, when you put all the numbers together, the average annual value comes to 32, but he will never see the year 58 million cap hit, right? But, like, that's the funny money that the agent reports. So it drives me nuts when people are like, oh, well, 32 million and 25 million, that gets T and Jamar done. Like, it's that easy. And it's like, yes, but like 28 other teams also aren't using void years and doing all this stuff. So, like, I fault the Bengals for not being ingenious, but I don't fault them for being Eagles, right? Like, you're talking about the two extremes. So, but yeah, do they change their draft history? Do they change their approach? They sound like they want to change the offseason approach. They sound like they're being very committed to not only signing their own players on deals, but bringing in new players, and that's great. But again, it comes back to, are you going to walk the walk and not just talk the talk? And I want to believe, but I'm hesitant.
Right. Well, yeah, we're all hesitant because we've seen it. I mean, but I just think last year, hopefully, this is what I'm hoping. Last year was so eye-opening to them because Duke came out and said, you know, we have a great offense, which we do. We have a great offense. We have one of the best offense, if not the best offense in the league. We still didn't win enough. You know, our defense wasn't good. Our offensive line, the tackles were fine, but the interior, and they talk about this, which I find interesting that not only Duke talked about it, but the new offensive
Scott Peters,
thank you, talked about it. The interior guys. And some people looked at it like, oh, that means he's not going to do anything. It's like, no, we're saying we need to upgrade if we can. Not saying he's not going to sit there and throw Kappa under the bus. Like, oh, he sucks. You're going to get rid of him. Karras is horrible.
But silence speaks volumes, right? Yes, when it's like, hey, talk good about your offensive line and you only mention the tackles, it's like, okay, well, maybe the safety. I know that they did that when they talked about the safeties. They're like, so talk about Geno Stone and Jordan Battle and like what you think from them. And he's like, talked entirely about Jordan Battle and didn't say anything about Geno Stone. And it's like, normally I wouldn't read too much into it, but like you were asked explicitly about both of them and you only talked about one. So if you're reading into that, well, maybe Geno Stone is someone we need to look at as being on the chopping block now.
That's what I keep saying. People are like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well,
I didn't think so. I didn't think so because it's a reasonable contract.
Yeah.
And you could at least get competition in camp and see.
If he does, but if he doesn't fit into Al Golden's system, and the thing is, it's a pretty good contract for the team. You could trade him and go get a 6th or 7th round pick probably for him.
Also just wait until you go to the draft and see if a safety falls in your lap in round 2 or 3 and you go, oh, well, he's Xavier Watts sitting at 49. Okay, yeah.
Dude, that's the one. If he's sitting there at 49, I will be shocked if Al Golden is not standing on the table saying we got to draft this kid. If he's sitting there at 49, it won't be surprise me if they draft him. I'll put it that way. Would it surprise you if they draft him if he's there at 49? Would that be shocking?
No, not right now. We'll see. I'm really excited about this weekend because this is the time where I really start to get like deep in the draft because right now, like, yeah, the familiar guys, the top 50, the top 75, like those are guys I'm familiar with. I've seen on, Saturdays.
Yeah. Now you find the grinders.
Right. When I finally get, because they over-report their height and weight, sometimes by 2-3 inches and 40, 50 pounds.
Right? Damn, you shrunk 2 inches. What the hell happened to you?
Right, yeah. Some guy who is 6'4" will be 6'2" and like 250, and he was listed at 270. And like, so it's always nice to get those official measurements because a lot of those are dictate where teams will have guys on their board, if at all. Mm-hmm. So that's really valuable information. And then you get the testing data too, which is really important because like I think it's something around 70-80% of NFL players were over a 5.0 relative athletic score. So it's not to say that that's the end all be all. There's kicker and defensive tackle that they may not always be as important for, but it is important that it's just a baseline. So it helps you kind of narrow down things. So, I don't want to make any predictions about who the Bengals take, but when we do our draft show, maybe the week before the draft, and we talk a little bit about the preview, then I'll have it narrowed down of, hey, these are the prospects who fit their positions and also fit their physical measurements they like, and their production profile is good. And then I can red flag those guys and go, hey, there we go. These are kind of their guys that they're going to be looking at. So I'm really excited for this process. Finally, our last bit of testing is going to be going on over the next couple of days. And I say last bit, I mean the first half, because no one does the agilities anymore, right? So now I'll have to wait until pro days, a month or two or a month and a half away from
you
now.
gotta wait for everything for Nolan. Nolan didn't test at all.
And I get that. It's a tough turnaround on the combine, and you're doing so many medicals, and some of those guys are doing drills at 9:00 at night, and they haven't eaten since that morning. Like that's not conducive. Traveling and doing all this other stuff. You have been meeting with teams. You haven't necessarily been training maybe as diligently as you could.
The biggest thing for the bigger thing for the teams is the interviews. I think they
medicals.
Medicals. Yeah, that's the bigger part for them. Because the testing they'll get it, but they can also get them at the pro day too.
When else are you going to get all the prospects in one place where you can interview 20 guys within the same day, right? Like, exactly. That's a big part of it.
All right, so free agency. Let's touch on that a little bit here.
Yeah.
Now I did talk about that I could see them drafting a guard in the first round, which I could, but I also say this because I don't really, like you said, narrow it down. We got the combine now. You're really going to narrow it down after free agency. I would not be surprised if the Bengals signed 2 guards. To be honest, I would be surprised. You got Scherf out there. You got Zeitler. I mean, there's not a ton, but I just threw those 2 names out there. Those are guys you can get them for less than $10 million probably per year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and they would be an upgrade compared to what you have now. I would still try to draft one, but lower down just for depth, and who knows, maybe you could hit on it. Yeah. But if they do what I think they're going to do is sign 2 guards, they're not drafting a guard in the first round. And the thing is,
no,
if you do, and there's no, Sweat, that'll be a good one again. There are some good defensive players, but I don't know if they'll spend the money to get them because of the draft.
I don't see that either. And that's not necessarily to say that they're being cheap or they're making a decision. That's
I think it's actually smart because it's such a good defensive line draft.
Oh, yeah. And then there's often the top 3 or so guys in free agency are always overpays because you have to pay that premium for the right to sign them, right? So you're already starting out behind the 8 ball, signing a guy for 15-20% over probably what he generally should get. Or what you would expect to get, I would say. But yeah, so playing in that kind of tier 2, tier 3 of free agency is always a good spot to be at. When you're talking about that tier, you brought up an older guy like Brandon Scherf. Mm-hmm. They've got Patrick McCarry out there from the Ravens floating around. It really depends because we know they don't like to give multi-year contracts or high guarantees to guys over 30, right? So that really kind of narrows it down because a guy like Kevin Zeitler, if you wanted to reunite with him, is 35.
Yeah.
And though he still looked good in the 1 year for the, I worry about how much they like Cody Ford at guard. That's my concern. We know they like to overvalue their own players.
I would not look.
They like him.
I would not put it past them to bring him back, which I'm okay with bringing him back as a backup.
As a backup, but I'm worried about them going, we got rid of Capo and we have Volson and
I'll put it this way. If they drafted somebody like high enough that I'd be okay, he could compete for the job. Let's see what happens. To give him some incentive to come back. But I don't want them going, Cody Ford, plug and play, he's our guard. I mean, I thought he had a really good season. He played a lot better than I thought he would.
He played like a quality backup.
Yes.
I will give him that, especially guard. Guard was better than tackle, which was always the case for him. Yeah.
Right. And that's what we need. That's what we paid him to do. That's what we need him to do. We need more guys like that, to be honest, to be better quality backups.
Right. So that's the question is like, hey, all right, well, you've got Kevin Zeitler, right? Brandon Scherf. Patrick McCarry is a little bit younger, but has actually had that longer career. He's got versatility at tackle and guard. So like that's kind of the appeal of him is you kind of fill that Trent Brown void, so to speak. Right. So yeah, Dalton Risner is going to be 30, but that's a guy we've been saying for 3 years. Hey, he's just continually been really solid. What's the harm in injecting a guy like that? So they're going to have to make a decision on, hey, are we going to break from that traditional avoiding a guy who's 30 years old to sign a guy who's maybe $4 or $5 million and just have them competing, or 2 guys of that for the price and trying to find who wins, right?
So for those guys, do you, because I like Zeitler and Scherf, I keep saying those 2 names, but guys that were in their 30s, I think they're only going to get a 2-year. You can have a third year, but the third year could also be a team option, which
you wouldn't get guaranteed money into that. And that's the thing. Zeitler's already 35.
Yeah.
I think it would be a 1-year contract. Maybe Scherf being 33 gets like a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Neither one of those guys are going to be here very long. They would be stopgaps, which I know if Mon is watching this is going to hate that because he wants it fixed, which I agree. But you might not. You might have to do that and turn around and go back into the if you get put it this way. If they can hit on 3 defensive guys this year, which they can, I mean, hopefully they will, then your defensive line, if it's all on the defensive line, your defensive line is at least starter-wise fixed. You got to go and get depth and everything, which you can add later on. Next year, you could jump back into the draft and hopefully get a guard or 2 there and then go sign another one or extend one of the guys. I mean, there's ways to go around this. The tackles are fixed. Your center is good for a little while. I mean, Ted's getting long in the tooth. I love Ted. We're at to eventually replace him, but right now he's fine. So you got 3 solid spots. You just got to fix 2 of them. And I'm okay with, a 1-year stopgap because we got to improve it. If it's an improvement upon what we have, I don't care if it
can't be putrid. Right?
Yes. It's got to be an improvement.
The advantage of a guy like you said with Brandon Scherf is a good example because that's a guy who might get $6 million, $7 million, but what's the problem with guaranteeing that contract for a veteran? Because it's 1 year. It's 1 year and off the books. There's no risk of commitment. So a guy like a Zeitler, like a Scherf, yes, there's that inherent risk of being older, of coming off those injuries. But at the same time, you get that advantage of, hey, it is just 1 or 2 years of guaranteed money. We don't even have to worry about that. So do they do that? Do they try and look for a guy like Aaron Banks, a Mekhi Becton, who might get $8 or $10 million a year if they really like the guy? But I just
picked him last year and they didn't, so that's why I don't see him coming.
I just don't think they value guard enough to pay these guys more than 6, 7, 8 million when you have these options. And it's unfortunate because last year was such a great interior offensive line draft, and they just completely ignored it. And Again, McKinley Jackson, I don't have a problem with the player. I have a problem with when they took him because you could have gotten a very talented interior offensive lineman that could be starting for you right now confidently, right? You could have gotten with the Eric All pick. Again, love the player. The injury history was extremely concerning when you have 2 catastrophic injuries, especially when you have a back issue, when you're either an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, or you do a lot of blocking, right? There's a lot of down and upright force being applied to that spine. That's a problem. The just injury history was like, man, I feel like you could have gotten legitimate 3, 4, 5-year starters and beyond at that point at a crucial position for the interior offensive line, as opposed to at that time was tight end 3 or 4 before he climbed up the depth chart, right?
You also got the Burton pick too. You could have probably got
right. Yeah, that's another good point. And so I look at that and I'm like, it's a shame, and I don't want them to do that for linebacker, for D end, for D tackle in this draft, because usually you're trying so hard not to draft for need, but everything lines up so well for you this year to where you can really let the board fall to you and still get very talented defensive line players, safety, linebacker, hybrids, if you're willing to deviate into that. And they need to get more athletic at linebacker. And this is actually one of the most athletic linebacker classes in the last decade. So it's their production as well as their athleticism is crazy.
Your boy out of Alabama killed it last night.
I know, man. He did. And that's a guy who started off as a defensive end and is able to backpedal and move like that. And the instincts are the problem, right? But for a guy who's only been playing true off-ball linebacker for the last 2 seasons, like that's something where I'm looking at a guy like that and I'm like, hey, dude, like he led Alabama in tackles for loss, sacks, and forced fumbles. The dude is just a problem. And hey, if you're going to miss a tackle here or there for, a 10, 15-yard gain, okay. If you're leading the team in sacks and forced fumbles, I'm going to be okay with that, right?
And he fits all the measurables. He's tall and long and everything. But
and there's the whole the Viper position for Al Golden, he's got to have it, right?
That's a thing. It's a thing, all right?
Yeah, right. So if you are a buyer into that theory, hey, he fits that mold great. Yeah. He can both play the off-ball linebacker but be a threat to rush the passer.
He's already got a nickname. He'll be the Viper.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
Make the posters.
Yeah, there's much worse nicknames out there. You could be the Red Rifle.
Hey, you can be strawberry ice. I mean, that's a terrible one. Who knows? All right, Evan. It's 6:29, man. I appreciate you coming on. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Soon. We'll get you back on closer to the draft.
For
and
sure.
You enjoy yourself at the combine. Hey, go ahead and plug some stuff. I know you got stuff going on with Malik. And
yeah, man, for sure. Check out on YouTube at the Sit Down 513. We've got every Wednesday, State of the Jungle. We talk Bengals. We're going to have some mock draft war rooms coming up where we'll share the GM hat between our co-hosts and we'll kind of draft differently each week, talking about this is what we would do. These are what we expect the Bengals to do as we get closer to the draft. And kind of talk through a lot of different prospects, a lot of different scenarios, use different boards to try and familiarize everybody with the players, but also kind of get through that process there as my little 8-month-old lab puppy is throwing fits at the door there. Yeah, definitely check that out every Wednesday. We'd be happy to have you. Check me out on Twitter at emcphil. We'll be tweeting out a lot of good stuff as we get up to the draft here and I start to pick out some of my favorite prospects as we get more complete profiles for all of them.
Hey, I want to know, when is the McMoney t-shirts coming out? Is that
we're working on the rights. Me and Evan McPherson both. We're gonna do like a double trouble, little double mint twins thing. Yeah, back to back. Like, yeah.
All you gotta do is shave and everything.
I know. Yeah, we're working on it. We're coordinating. We'll figure it out. Yeah. I might do one of those like Jared Goff goes back to Cal and does the thing. Maybe I go out there and I start kicking and they just go, Evan McPherson's really off today. You know, like what's going on with this guy?
What happened to him?
Like, wind. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hopefully I see you at a tailgate this year and I'll get you a shotgun of beer.
Yeah, I'm talking about Ted Karras. Yeah, by football terms, even I'm getting long in the tooth. Yeah, it's been a while since I shotgun one of those, but
probably
if I could probably do it.
I said probably last time we did it, which is what 2 years ago?
No, what? God, year and a half, 2 years ago. Almost now.
I don't even do it that often. I just see you and make you do it because it's fun. Evan, as always, appreciate you, brother. Take it easy.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me. I'll take it easy.
Yep. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. My thanks to Graham Ashcraft. My thanks to Evan McPhillips. Make sure you go follow them at the Sit Down. Malik Wright, those guys do a great job over there. As always, I have been live streaming on ZTV, YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch. You can follow me on all those, along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And shout out to my wonderful sponsors, and they are as follows. We have Priority Lawn and Landscaping. If you need your grass cut, landscaping done, beds mulched, I don't know, retainer wall, any kind of landscaping needs, give Priority Lawn and Landscaping a call at 513-430-6114. Again, that's 513-430-6114. You can also follow them on Facebook. Also, shout out to T Properties. You guys are in the market for a rental property, an apartment, a house, a condo. You got a rental property. You just don't want to manage anymore. Give T Properties a shout. Check them out at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management and your management needs. And my West Side Peace, go check out Hail Marys this weekend. Go out there. Check out their big ass TV screen, their beer specials, food trucks, free parking. I know I say it all the time, but it's free parking right across the street. It's an awesome, awesome place. Hail Marys, your ticket to the game. And go check out Meyer Windows and Doors. I got it in my house. It should give me yours. They're energy efficient, easy to clean, and great looking windows. Check them out at www.meyercincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. All right, guys, you have a wonderful day. I'm off to the Cyclones game tonight, and then I am going to Columbus tomorrow, like I said, to watch the outdoor game. It's going to be an absolute blast. I'm hoping to do a video and put that out on the channel. So if you guys are interested in how the trip was, we're gonna do that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, all this cool stuff. You guys are awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Have a wonderful Friday. Throw it up. Who Day for life. And that's your sports, baby. See ya!
Weekday nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice is on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every Touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse that's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeat strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.